Welcome back. This is World Insight with me, Tian. China and the European Union have been working hand in hand in trade ties, with China being the EU's largest and the EU being China's second largest trading partner. Despite global headwinds, including protectionism and unilateralism, the two sides are still diligently seeking cooperation. Germany, one of the largest economies in the world and critical player in the European Union, is making an effort for the future with the upcoming China visit by German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. For this and more, I talked to Joerg Wuttke, president of the EU Chamber of Commerce in China. He's also serving as the China representative of BASF, one of the largest German companies. I'm glad to be joined by Joerg Wuttke, president of the European Chamber of Commerce in China. Now, with the upcoming visit of the German Chancellor, people are putting their eyes on the trade and economic relations between China and Europe again. How would you assess the nature of this relationship at this moment?
Well, we are deeply embedded with each other's economy. I mean, Europe is the largest market for the Chinese exporters. We have, in the first 8 months, seen 4.1 million containers going to Europe, creating 60 million jobs in China. Equally, 1.1 million containers go from Europe to China, creating jobs and values in our home market. And of course, the local investment is still going strong, in particular, as we have now a very good Chinese investment profile into the European Union with CATL, for example. As a matter of fact, last year, China invested more in Europe than Europe invested in China.
The European investment in China, in the number, actually was quite impressive last year, given the fact it is still in the middle of the pandemic. What do you see are the reasons behind it? I know there are some single investment items that are very impressive, while at the same time, the other European businesses are looking at the general situation.
At least a third of the car market is in China. And of course, when you look at machinery, China's market is as big as US, Japan, and European Union put together. So there you are. You have to be part of the game, not only for selling, but also for innovation purposes. And that's why the top 10, at least top 10 European companies are really pouring money into this economy. But we have seen a bit of a stalemate with SMEs. We're not leaving China. We don't see any companies packing up and going to Southeast Asia. But we see those people putting their operations on autopilot and looking at other options because of the inability of easily traveling into China. So it's a mixed bag. But again, we have to do more. We think it's a good development, but could be better.
How do you, on behalf of the European businesses, have been communicating with the Chinese side, both the trade side and also concerning other aspects of living and working in China?
Well, of course, we are talking to you, hence indirectly we talk to the leadership, we talk to the public, but also, of course, we have meetings, we have bilateral meetings. We have been very deeply engaged with the Ministry of Commerce. That has been a great problem solver for us, even beyond their portfolio, such as, for example, helping our ecosystem to be stable, like teachers, for example, coming in. And then, of course, we have other engagement with the CCPIT, a great chamber to help us. It's not easy operating in China these days with all these COVID restrictions. But again, we have good interlocutors in order to get our grievances across, and in most cases, actually, it helps.
One, you talk about innovation. You said that German and also other European businesses need to work with China even on that front. Can you more elaborate on that?
Yeah, people always assume that innovation is people in white outfits in labs and doing some stuff. But as a matter of fact, what really European companies learn from this market, and that's where the innovation is coming from, is very demanding customers. We have in the car industry definitely, I think, a better customer profile. They're younger, they're more female, they're more demanding when it comes to gadgets. That's where the German car industry really takes inspiration. from this. And same in the chemical industry, where we have customers that are more risk savvy, they are more demanding when it comes to timeframes and so forth. It's not really the basic research that is prevalent over here. It's all about a big fat D, the development side, new business systems. That's where China shines and sparkles.
How do the European businesses working with and working in China try to maneuver the space that is existing amid the ever-changing global environment?
The U.S. sanctions on semiconductors definitely chases us to the drawing board and to see, you know, where it's going to hit our supply chain. We have this Buy American, where American products cannot have Chinese components, but also we have tendency of Buy Chinese, that only products European companies sell over here cannot have American components in there. So Europeans are in between, and it's certainly not an easy place to put your business.
So at this point, how do you, as the president of the European Chamber of Commerce, be able to maximize the best interest of your businesses?
Well, first of all, we have to inform our members about what's going on over here, where the challenges. We have to communicate to our stakeholders, but also we have to definitely keep our headquarters aligned and communicate the potential and the challenges here. We are business people. We don't live in the world of would love to have. We have the possibilities of renewables in Southwest China, where all of a sudden you can make major energy intensive plants and get new green energy, for example. So both ends have to be communicated, the challenges, but also the opportunities. And in today's cacophony in the world, certainly that's not very easy.
The one hat you wear, of course, is the president of the European Chamber of Commerce in China. You have also many other hats, including be the one that has been very instrumental in making sure one of the largest chemical companies in the world, the BASF, is operating well in China as the head of the operation. So, Mr. Wuttke, tell me more about that front. I understand the company has been talking about over the past few days in Europe to refuse against the China bashing, suggesting both the market and also the energy crisis led to the important decision of the company to invest and work more with China.
Well, again, I mean, these leaders, including the BASF CEO, will be in the plane on Friday to come to China, showing the commitment, like their colleagues from other companies. That in itself already is a symbol, but also definitely they're trying to voice the concern about a lopsided discussion in Europe about China. And we have to see the challenges that are created. We have to sort of figure out what the new lineup in the Politburo means for our business. We have to see all of that. But again, we have to do it in a communication with China, with the Chinese leadership, in order to make them understand where we see issues, and that we also understand their red lines in order to proceed from there.
How much does the energy crisis play its role in the decision of German company like BASF in deciding on working with China even more? I understand that during the first 9 months of this year, the company's energy input has already increased about 2.2 billion euro compared to the same period last year. So what does these reality mean for companies like BASF?
Well, certainly it means also a technological challenge. You have to see where you can actually save energy. You have to see where you possibly can have new product lines. You have to look into options to produce elsewhere. Again, mostly in those cases, energy-intensive industries are looking to the United States, as there's ample energy. Frankly, and also China had its challenges in the energy side a year ago and last summer. So in a way, it of course means that you have to come up with an array of solutions and scenarios, but you also have to communicate it. You have to communicate to stakeholders how tough it is to develop a company in an environment where you have next door you have a war happening that has been cutting off the supply in oil and gas. It's a peculiar situation. I think we didn't have that. As a child, I remember we had an energy crisis in 1973 where we had no cars on the street. I hope we don't end up there.
The chemical company BASF we are talking about has been investing in China in different parts of this country. For example, in southern China, in northwest of China, and many of these investments are huge. Some can even be described as gigantic. Maybe some of the largest single investment project ever by a European company in China recently. So, Mr. Wuttke, tell me more about how, at this point, a company like this has to deal with all kinds of unpredictabilities, while at the same time to make sure the product qualities and also the important role in the global supply chains.
Well, we are not alone in that. I mean, in the chemical sector, where whatever you do, it costs you a lot of money. It's a lot of investment in high technology. So we're not alone. We have the likes of ExxonMobil, for example. We have Evonik, Covestro, Dow, and DuPont. So BASF is in a good neighborhood in order to actually thrive in this marketplace. Again, if you have a global market where 50% stands for China, then you have to be at the table. Otherwise, you're on the menu. You have to be here. Again, how to deal with crisis? Well, most of these companies I just mentioned have a long history. BASF was founded in 1865. We had the first operation in China in 1885. So there were lots of wars and quarrels between then and now. So I think the DNA of the company is resilience. This industry really is vital for the future in manufacturing.
What do you make of the makeup of the delegation coming from the business world in Chancellor's delegation?
Well, it's of course smaller. It's not a normal engagement. It's the Beijing Bubble Olympics, flying in and flying out. I don't have the final list of who's going to be there. I definitely hope that we have a representative from BioNTech there. BioNTech is, of course, the company that has produced the best mRNA distributed by Pfizer across the world, but they want to engage in China. We have been pleading for them to operate in Shanghai so we can get an additional option in vaccination. So I hope that they're on board. And of course, certainly the car industry is going to be there, but I hope also one or two small and medium-sized enterprises. But again, it's going to be very different. It's flying in and out. It's not going on with meetings over the days. So let's see what comes out of this visit.
With the recently concluded political conference in China, once again, the higher level of opening up being mentioned in the policy paper. Now, how much do you see that is being translated into reality? What do you make as a company head and also as the president of the European Chamber of Commerce looking at terminologies like this?
Well, we have to wait, frankly, because we have now a leadership in office in the Politburo that is not already reflected in the government. We still have a sitting government with prime minister and vice premiers, mostly people that we are very familiar with. And that's going to exchange, basically, in essence, virtually everybody in March next year. And then we have a new setting. And until then, so we have to see what kind of news or promises are coming out of meetings from now until March. I think all of us are very keen to look at the financial and the economic conferences in December. So we really hope that there's a visual and a vocal commitment towards reform and opening up. And then let's hope that we have an engagement with the new government in March next year that is promising for both sides.
The correlations among the European countries, the challenges of that is not a secret at all. So from the business perspective, how do you see the different demands and advantages of companies from different European countries, and how do you, as the president of the European Chamber of Commerce, balance that with the current realities you are operating in?
Well, we have a great chamber with 35 working groups building up cases in each of their fields, be it pharmaceuticals, be it medical equipment, for example. And then these cases are being put together in the position paper, which I launched last month. And believe it or not, it was solid 967 recommendations. So we are going into details. We can't operate by just saying, oh, it's nice, open up and staying in this kind of stratospheric atmosphere. We have to get real. We have to get down to details. And that's now our job in order to go to the ministries and basically make them aware about these 967 cases. I hope that some of them can be resolved. And then next year in September, we can see again the next position paper.
Right. Finally, before we go, Mr. Wuttke, if you get a chance to talk to Mr. Chancellor, who are to visit China, what would you suggest to him as someone, the president of the European Chamber of Commerce in China, as the one that is operating one of the biggest investments of European companies in China, and also as one who has been living and working in China together with your family for more than 20 years, what would you say?
Well, first of all, I would congratulate him for making the effort of coming here. I mean, that's really quite a challenge given not only the traveling and the jet lag, but also the political atmosphere back home, that he has the commitment in order to meet for the first time as Chancellor President Xi. G7 is important to actually have a visual and a face-to-face meeting with the president to make our concerns clear. And I would congratulate him on the Hamburg deal because it was good to have Chinese investment there. It brings more business into our northern parts of Germany. We have 20 Chinese investments across Europe in ports, and that would be the other point of order to remind the Chinese side that reciprocity is very important. You can operate in our backyard, so we want to operate here. We would like to have our ships going from Chinese harbor to Chinese harbor directly.
Joerg Wuttke, President of the European Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.